Welcome back to Proxy, everybody, and today we're going to be diving back into the Grotsmas Detachments that we've been getting over the last month. So as you guys know, there have been a lot of detachments dropping from various armies, but Grotsmas is almost over, which means that a lot of the detachments that have come out are already being played by players at your local game stores and in competitive play as well. So today I thought we'd go over 5 more. We're not going to do demons today. We're going to save that for another day probably. We're just going to focus on most of the other detachments that came out. And guys, there's a lot of good ones here, and there's a couple ones that just probably aren't so good. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and discuss them and, show you guys how to deal with them as the Eldari and also what to watch out for in your games. So, the first detachment is the auxiliary cadre, and this is the Tau detachment. Now, just like it states, this is all about auxiliaries, so Vespid and Kroot. Interesting, considering that the Tau already technically have a Kroot, detachment, but I guess, they couldn't find anything else for the Tau, so they gave them this. And honestly, looking through this, reading it for the first time, I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it's as good as, Monka or, Kayun or whatever, but I think it's still pretty decent. Now, let's go ahead and read this detachment rule. Let's zoom in here a little bit. Now, the detachment rule is integrated command structure. So, this is for Kroot and Vespid Stingwings. They gain this unit called Targeting Triangulation. While an enemy unit is within 9 and visible to this unit, each time a range attack made by a friendly Tau model, excluding Kroot, Vespid, and Titanic models, targets that enemy unit, improve the armor penetration characteristic by 1. So this is a pretty good ability. It basically means that if you have a Kroot or Vespid unit within 9 inches of an enemy unit, other Tau models will get plus 1 AP. Now, of course, this is on top of the guiding army ability that they have that they can use to guide friendly units so that, you can get minus, the benefit of cover, of course, and plus 1 to their hit rolls. Now, there's a second part of this rule, and that is Tau Empire units that exclude Kroot and Vespid from your army have the following ability. While a friendly Kroot or Vespid Stingwings unit is wholly within 6 inches of and visible to this unit, that Kroot and Vespid Stingwings unit can only be selected as a target of a range attack if the attacking model is within 18. So this seems really powerful. It's like, wow, this is an army-wide lone operative, 18-inch lone op. But it's only going to affect Kroot and Vespid if they're wholly within 6 inches and visible to that Tau unit. So it's not as good as it seems on paper. A lot of times when you're going to be playing games, there's going to be situations where if your opponent does want to get their whole unit within 6, they're not going to be able to do something else. Or, you could just simply kill that unit, or you're going to, not be able to hide completely. So there's a lot of things going on there. You basically have to really squish that unit in. Now, what I think this is going to be really good with, though, maybe not crew carnivores, but things like the crew talks, right? The, kind of more loner type crew units, the crew talks, or the, and I don't even know what they're called. I think they're the crew carnivores or the rampagers. That's what they are. The crew rampagers, the kind of gorilla looking things that, love melee combat. I think these localized stealth projectors are going to be really good for those units, but I just don't see it being this, super OP special rule. A couple of people in my gaming group were kind of like looking at this and being like, oh my god, Tower going to be OP again. But I really don't think that's going to be the case. I actually think that the first part of the rule is actually way better just because it's going to really improve the range, armor pen characteristic of Tau Empire models even further. So let's go ahead and take a look at the enhancements. We have Student of Kayun, a Kroot Shaper model. In the declared battle formation step, you can select up to 3 Kroot Carnivores or Farstalker units from your army, and those models have the Deep Strike ability. Now, honestly, I don't really think this is that good. The reason being is Kroot Carnivores, I believe, already have Infiltrate and or Scouts. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but they don't typically want to be deep striking. So I don't really like that ability. that much. It's only 15 points. Forest Stalkers are, I think maybe a little bit better at deep striking, but again, I don't think it's going to be that good. And the reason being is if you check out these rules, right? Targeting triangulation while an enemy unit is within 9. So deep strike has to be outside of 9. So already that has bad synergy. And of course, the localized stealth projectors is within 6. So you can definitely do that, right? You can definitely get within a friendly unit. But at that point, why not just deploy them on the battlefield? So I don't think that's that good of an enhancement, but I could be wrong. Admired Leader, Tau Empire model only, excluding Kroot models. In your command phase, you can select one Kroot or Vespid Stingwing unit within 12 of the bearer. If you do so, until the start of your next command phase, improve the leadership characteristic of models in that unit by 1. And while such a unit is not battle shocked, add 1 to the objective control characteristics of models in that unit. Again, honestly, don't really like it. I think the +1 leadership is fine. The +1 OC is the more powerful part of this. But again, this is one unit within 12. It's not an aura that, kind of affects all units. And it's 20 points. I just don't think I could see myself, as a Tau player taking this enhancement on a battlesuit commander or anything like that, because it just doesn't do anything for the battlesuit commander, right? And typically speaking, Kroot models on an objective are going to be killed rather rapidly. So I just don't see much of a point to that ability. We next have Fanatical Convert, which is 10 points. Kroot model only. The bearer's unit has the For the Greater Good ability. I actually really like this. This is 10 points, but it's arguably the best one on the list because it allows them to be guided. So, yeah, exactly, right? So the Army special rule, sorry. The Army special rule for the unit is going to be able to be guided and benefit from guide, right? So that's really good. That's fantastic. It's a Kroot model only, but you can, put a shaper in a unit of Kroot carnivores, or you can put a character in a unit of, those Rampager models, and all of a sudden you can be guided. Their range weapons can be guided. I don't know if the Rampagers have range weapons, but I know that the Krootalks do, and they would benefit from that as well. So I like that for 10 points. You have the Transponder Lock module for 25 points. It's a Tau Empire Walker model. So, any of the Ghost Keel battlesuits or, Riptide battlesuits, stuff like that. It does need to have the Deep Strike ability. So I think both of those suits have Deep Strike. The Bearer's unit can then be set up using the Deep Strike ability in the first, second, or third movement phase, regardless of mission rules. And during your first movement phase, when you set up the bearer's unit, it must be set up within 12 inches of one or more Kroot or Vespid Stingwings and not within 9 inches horizontally of one or more enemy units. Again, this is one of those things, and I don't know. I mean, it could be used for battlesuits as well, because I think battlesuits, if I'm not mistaken, are walkers and their vehicles as well. So you could, outfit, a Sunforge battlesuit crisis team with the transponder lock module. You can give it to a Tau commander and you could deep strike him during the first turn. I just don't see that as a big benefit, especially because you have to be within 12 inches of one or more friendly Kroot or Vespid Stingwing models. So again, looking at the enhancements, they're just not that good. You have one really good enhancement for 10 points, and then you have some kind of really bad ones, and then you have an okay one, but you might not use it all that much, and honestly, it just kind of seems like a waste to me. So the enhancements, I think, for this detachment are a big goose egg. I think they kind of lost out on a lot here, right? Like Tau players who want to play more into the Kroot and the Vespid, they're not getting a lot out of these enhancements. However, let's take a look at the stratagems, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, these are actually pretty good. So our first one is experimental modifications. Your shooting or fight phase, one Kroot or Vespid Stingwing unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. Until the end of the phase, improve the armor penetration characteristic of weapons equipped by models in your unit by 1. So this is really good. Again, this is on top of the kind of theme of this whole detachment, which is improve the AP of Tau models and also Kroot models. It's definitely one of those detachments that is going to really benefit from a lot of synergies between the Kroot models and the Tau models themselves. So I think that's a pretty good enhancement there, or excuse me, a stratagem. We have the multi-sensory scanning, so you're shooting or fight phase, one Tau Empire unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. If a Kroot or Vespid Stingwings unit, if it is a Kroot or Vespid Stingwings unit, you can reroll the wound roll instead. Again, great stratagem here that you can also layer on top of this first stratagem if you want to. So reroll all wounds and then -1 AP on your weapons, actually makes Kroot Carnivores and Vespids very good and hit very hard. We have interlocking maneuvers. End of the fight phase, one Tau Empire unit from your army that was eligible to fight this phase. If your unit is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, it can make a normal move of up to 6. Otherwise, your unit can make a fallback move. It cannot embark within a transport at the end of the move if it disembarked from a transport this turn. This is really good. This is awesome. So basically, this is a move, shoot, move ability. This reminds me of the old Wind Rider ability or old Guardian Jet Bike ability, if you guys are old enough to remember that, in 5th and 4th and 3rd edition, where jet bikes basically got to move in the assault phase. So this is exactly what it is, right? And again, they have to be eligible to fight, and they have to not be within engagement range. So that means they can't, obviously be in combat. But this is really good, right? This is a move, shoot, move, a 6-inch move for 1 CP. That's fantastic. That's good on a number of units, and it's just Tau Empire unit. So far, these stratagems are looking pretty solid. Let's take a look at the next one. Pheromone Waypoints. Your movement phase, one Kroot or Vespid Stingwings unit that has not been selected to move, and it basically gets a 6-inch advance. So that is exactly like the Eldar one, right? We have the matchless agility. This is exactly the same thing, which is cool. We have alien expertise next, your movement phase, one Tau Empire unit from your army. So it looks like that unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn which it advanced. So this is really good for things like those rampagers, right? Who can now advance and charge. Pretty awesome. And it can also, so if it's just a normal Tau unit, it's eligible to shoot in a turn in which it advanced as well. So obviously all of these stratagems are going to have bonuses pretty much for if it's a Kroot or Vespid unit. This is a really good ability to be able to advance and shoot like that. Last one is Guided Fire. Your shooting phase, one Tau Empire unit from your army, excluding Kroot and Vespid Stingwing units that has not been selected to shoot. Till the end of the phase, add one to the strength characteristic of ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit. If your unit is wholly within 9 inches of one or more Kroot or Vespid Stingwing units from your army, add 2 to the strength characteristic of ranged weapons equipped by your models instead. That's really powerful. So just think about maybe some breachers or something like that. I mean, breachers are already really powerful. Think about a unit of breachers laying into a unit with strength 8, AP -2 because of the army or detachment rule, excuse me, basically hitting on a 3+, and also if you had extra CP, you could give them rerolls 1s to wound on strength 8. So they're, against toughness 4, they're rerolling all their wounds. I really like this detachment. I think it's flavorful. You're having to use synergies between Kroot and auxiliary units and your normal Tau units. I think it's cool. I think these stratagems are really good. They're solid. I think the only problem with this detachment is the enhancements. They just suck. I mean, I can't see any reason why people would take these enhancements in their army. I'm so sorry. And I'm not a Tau player right now. I used to play Tau a long time ago, but no more. I couldn't deal with the weebness of them. And basically, yeah, honestly, they seem like they're bad to me. If you're a Tau player out there and you know a little bit more than me about the faction, let me know what you think of these enhancements. I really only think the good one is Fanatical Convert. I think that's really good. A Kroot unit being able to benefit from the greater good ability seems awesome for den points, right? It's basically like a 10-point +1 to hit. That's great. But all these other ones just don't seem good, or they seem very situational. So, yeah, I like this detachment. I think it's good for the Tau. It may not be as powerful as lethal hits during turns 1, 2, or 3, but I think it's still very cool and flavorful. All right. Let's go and look at the next one. We have the Blood Angels, the Angelic inheritors. Of course, the Blood Angels have been kind of a really strong army for a while now in Pry Nexus. I mean, they were basically the golden children of Pry Nexus, and Adeptus Custodes were not. They kind of got screwed over in a lot of ways when they nerfed them super hard when Pry Nexus came out. But yeah, the Blood Angels have been strong ever since. So do they have a really strong detachment for Grotsmas? Well, let's go ahead and read it. So I haven't actually read this one yet, so this will be interesting. So the Legacy of the Angel. At the start of the first battle round, select 2 of the Angelic Legacy abilities listed below. Oh god, already sounds good. Until the end of the battle, those Angelic Legacy abilities are active and their effects apply to all Adeptus Sororitas character units from your army. Now, keep in mind, character units, so that also applies to any unit that the character joins. So let's take a look at the first one, Sanguinary Grace. This unit is eligible to shoot and declare charge in a turn which it fell back. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's solid. Carmine Wrath. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1 and a wound roll of 1. Okay, that's really good as well, especially with things like Power Fists. And lastly, their appointed hour. You can reroll advance and charge rolls made for this unit. Okay, so here's the thing, right? You have 2 really good abilities, and then you have one ability that's like very situational against a certain type of army. So if you're going up against something that you know you're not going to be able to one-shot, one round in combat, but they can't really hit you back too well, then yeah, you're going to want to pick up Sanguinary Grace. But if not, you're just going to want full damage, full charge. Any unit that has a character in it is going to be rerolls hits of 1 and wound rolls of 1 on top of whatever other buffs they get, and reroll advance and charge rolls. That's really strong. I do think obviously you're going to have to go more character heavy, which means more expensive units, which means they don't trade as well always, but you are going to get some very powerful units for a very good price. So that's the detachment rule. The restrictions obviously are just you can't take other Adeptus Astartes units drawn from any other chapter, which was obvious. You can't have Thunderwolf Cavalry running around in this. Enhancements, let's check those out. We have the Prescient Flash for 20 points. Models in the Bearers unit have Scout 6. Okay, that's not bad. That's like, basically what the Reaper's Wager Drukhari detachment got, except for transports, which is, theirs is obviously better because it's Scout 9, but this is Scout 6 on Space Marines. That's pretty good. Troubling Visions, 15 points. Adeptus Astartes model only. Once per battle in your command phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. When it does, until the start of your next command phase, all Angelic Legacy abilities are active for the bearer's unit instead of only 2 of them. Okay. So basically how I see this is most of the time you're not going to be picking up Sanguinary Grace, so this is going to translate to a shoot and charge in a turn in which it fell back once per battle. I don't know. I think that's kind of lame, to be honest. It's only one model. It's only once a battle. You can only, benefit basically from 1 additional Angelic Legacy abilities. And again, I think maybe it's worth it, but I don't see it. Like if you're going against a faction that you're just going to be able to murder their unit on the charge, I don't really see much of a point to that ability. Okay, Blazing Icon, 20 points. Adeptus Astartes infantry model only. Enemy units cannot use the Overwatch stratagem to shoot at the bearer unit. Perfect. Great. Right? That's like the Dark Eldar Nightmare Shroud. That is a fantastic, and it's actually less points too for some reason. I guess it's because Blood Angels are tougher, right? So Overwatch does less to them. Maybe that's the thing there. This is really concerning for things like Wind Riders. Like, Wind Riders to me are one of those units for the Eldari that are really powerful because of their Overwatch, and this kind of shuts it down. So that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. But, we're seeing more of these shutdown Overwatch kind of things because of how much people have truly been complaining about Overwatch as a stratagem. So I do understand why GW is throwing more tools for certain armies to have ignore Overwatch if they pick a certain detachment. We have Ordained Sacrifice for 25 points. Adeptus Astartes model only. The first time the bear is destroyed, roll a d6. On a 2+, set the model back up. Okay, this is Phoenix Gem for less points. But the model only gets up with 3 wounds. Now, I kind of get why it's 25 points. And a lot of people are going to disagree and just say it's a slap in the face that it's less points than the Aeldari one. But the reason why the Aeldari one was more expensive is because people were putting it, it wasn't because the actual enhancement was OP or worth more, it was because we could put it on an Autarch Wayleaper, and on the Autarch Wayleaper, who has Lone Op, it was really hard to kill that model at all. So, you had to be really close to the Autarch Wayleaper to kill it. Then once you did actually kill it, it would just get back up. And that's why they increased the points on it. It's not necessarily because this is better. And also this is, I mean, not for nothing. I know this doesn't really matter that much, but it comes up with 3 wounds. So most Space Marine characters have 5 wounds. So they're losing 2 wounds when they get back up. Again, I think that's fair, personally. I think that's fine. A lot of people will be like, oh, this is 10 points less. But remember, ours was 10 points less. Ours was 25 points when the edition came out. And then because we have the Wayleaper as a super strong lone operative, that's why it got more expensive. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the stratagems. Of course, we have the basic Armor of Contempt. We all know that. It's been nerfed. You can only use it for 1 unit now. It's not for the entire phase. So that's Armor of Contempt, -1 AP. Focused Fury is in the fight phase. 1 Adeptus Sororitas unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Till the end of the phase, melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have the lethal hits ability. If it's a character unit, then they also get Lance. That's really strong. Wow. Okay, so here we go with the Blood Angels, just running into combat and destroying everything they come across, right? And by the way, I think one of the reasons why Blood Angels are so strong right now is not only because the maps favor armies like Blood Angels, but they can also just wreck anything they hit. You can have a unit that is not designed to kill a vehicle because of lethal hits and things like Lance. So again, I think it was ironic that in the beginning of the edition, GW said we don't want there to be units that just kill everything, and then of course they come out with the Blood Angels, Codex, or even before that, really, with the Index, right? And everything has lethal hits, so of course lethal hits means I can kill anything in the game, especially when you have Lance and heavy AP. So anyway, that's really good for only 1 CP. Instant Instant of Grace. Your command phase. 1 Adeptus Astartes infantry unit from your army. Select 1 non-character model in your unit. Until the end of the... Ooh, okay. Until the start of your next command phase, your model has the character keyword. Interesting. So they will benefit from the Legacy of the Angel Detachment special rule for 1 turn. Until the start of your next command phase. That's pretty insane for 1 CP. So basically, guys, for 1 CP, a non-character unit is getting this. Rerolls, hits rolls of 1, wound rolls of 1, and reroll advance and charge rolls made for this unit. That's pretty insane to just have that as a stratagem. And you could use it every turn on a unit that doesn't have a character. Yeah, you can't target it on a unit that's not a character, but let's be real. There's going to be some units in this detachment that don't have a character attached, and you will use this on them until you can't anymore. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's look at Strike Now for Glory. Your shooting phase. 1 Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Till the end of the phase, ranged weapons get sustained hits 1. So, doesn't seem that good, but remember, this army has a lot of Inferno pistols, which are basically like Melta pistols. So, you're shooting a bunch of pistols with sustained hits 1. You're re-rolling 1s to hit. I believe this is at range 2. Yeah, it just makes an attack, so you're re-rolling 1s to hit as well, and you're getting sustained hits 1. That's really deadly. It's really short range, but Blood Angels want to be in your face anyway, so again, excellent damage stratagem. In the Shadow of Great Wings, your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. 1 Adeptus Astartes character unit from your army that was selected. Until the end of the phase, your unit can only be selected as the target for range attack if the attacking model is within 18. Yeah, I think this is good, but again, I mean, it's one of those things where it's situational, right? It's not always going to be good, but when it is usable, it's going to be great. So, yeah, I think that's good. It's a good stratagem. It's situational, but it's really good for a defensive stratagem on a very tough unit. We have Onto the Burning Skies is the last one. Enter your opponent's fight phase. One Adeptus Sororitas jump back unit from your army. You cannot target a unit that was within engagement range of one or more enemy units unless it's the Sanguinor. Okay, so interesting. So you can't target a unit that is in engagement range still, but if it's the Sanguinor, you can. And it basically says remove your unit from the battlefield and place it in a strat reserve. Okay, so it's an uppy downy ability. All right, so what what are my thoughts on this detachment? Well, I think, Blood Angels strike again. They get another really powerful detachment. A ton of damage. We have multiple damage dealing stratagems here. We have multiple utility stratagems that are all useful, by the way. All of them are useful, even situationally. I think ironically, the weakest detachment stratagem is Armor of Contempt. Every other one is really good. Armor of Contempt is just like, Armor of Contempt, it's there, Wow. Okay, so that's really strong. So yeah, what do I think about this detachment? Super strong. I'm sure Blood Angels players will win even more tournaments with it. I, don't see anything that's bad about this detachment. I know that their original detachment is also really strong with just basically, getting better attacks on their weapons, plus strength, plus attacks, all that stuff. But I have to say, this one's really good, and I think being able to essentially just kind of lean more into characters and make units that are really powerful is going to be really strong. Now, what I don't think this detachment will necessarily do well is trade well if you go overboard on characters. I think if you start going overboard on characters, you're going to trade very badly against players that are using a more, at least for the Eldari, a more MSU style list. I think obviously this kind of list does really good against tough units, that have really hard stats. Things like Wraithguard, Wraithblades, Avatar of Cain, those kind of units, I think this army would rip apart. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be that good at trading because of the fact that every unit either has to have a character or you have to continuously spend 1 CP on it to make it a character. And again, I think this detachment's really strong, but there are ways around it. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know if competitively people are going to prefer this over the regular detachment because this leans a lot into characters, but I can tell you this, the stratagems are really strong, the enhancements are good, and the detachment role is really strong as well. So typically speaking, when you have a triple strike, when all three things are really good, you're going to have a really competitive army that's going to win tournament games. All right, let's go on to the next one here. We have the Adeptus Sororitas. And they just got a pretty heavy nerf, right? But let's go ahead and read it. Let's see if this detachment fixes them, right? I can fix her. Okay, Righteous Purpose. In your command phase, you can discard up to 3 of your Miracle Dice. Interesting, just discard them. For each discarded, you can select 1 Adeptus Sororitas unit in your army. Until the start of the next command phase, that unit is righteous. When a unit is righteous, it adds 1 to the move characteristic, 1 to the leadership characteristic, and improves the weapon skill and ballistic skill characteristics of weapons equipped by Battle Sister Squads, Celestian Sacrosancts, and Paragon Warsuits by 1. And you're getting all of those. So that's really good, right? That's really powerful. However, you are discarding up to 3 Miracle Dice. Now, there's a key word here. You can discard up to 3. You don't have to always discard 3. So you can discard 1 and just power up 1 unit in your army that really needs the extra movement and weapon skill, ballistic skill characteristics, right? So that's really good. I think that's a good detachment rule. They did recently get their Miracle Dice nerfed, so that could be an issue. You're probably going to see this army needing more Battle Sister Squads, just like we need Guardian Defenders, to generate more Fate Dice. Or, excuse me, Miracle Dice, quote unquote, right? Okay. The keywords, okay, so there's new keywords. While a Celestian Sacrosanct unit from your army is not battle shocked, add 1 of the objective control characteristic of models in that unit. Cool. That's good. It makes them better at holding objectives. All right, let's take a look at the enhancements. Triptych of Judgment, that's 15 points. Adeptus Sororitas model only. Each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack, you can ignore any or all modifiers to the attack's ballistic skill or weapon skill characteristics, and or any modifiers to the hit roll. That's really good. That's really strong. Especially if you're getting +1 to hit over here with the detachment rule. So you're hitting on 2s no matter what. Pretty good. Mark of Devotion. Adeptus Sororitas model only. Add 1 to the attack's characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons. Okay. Let's read the second part, because if it doesn't continue, then... well, for 30 points, yeah. While the bearer's unit is righteous, add 2 to the attack's characteristic and 1 to the damage characteristic. Okay. So that's pretty good. I don't know if it's worth 30 points, but it's pretty good. Makes the... I can't remember the character names, but it makes the Celestian, or whatever it is, whatever it's called, pretty decent in combat. Again, is it worth 30 points? That's through a question for +2 attacks and +1 to the damage. I think they have damage 2 weapons, so it'll go up to damage 3. Yeah, I think that's actually pretty good. I think that's a good break point. I would say that's probably worth it on a really, powerful combat squad. Eyes of the Oracle for 10 points. Bear's weapons have the precision ability. Okay, cool. Each time the bearer's unit destroys an enemy character, you gain 1 CP. Yeah, that's pretty good for 10 points. I'd throw that on a character for 10 points. Absolutely. Okay, Sanctified Amulet, 25 points. Adeptus Sororitas model only. Enemy units that are set up on the battlefield from reserves cannot be set up within 12 of the bearer. That's a fantastic, fantastic enhancement. If the Eldari had something like that, I would take it every single game. That's fantastic. I think they should do that more often with other armies. They should all give at least one of the detachments in an army the ability to stop reserves being set up within 12 inches. Now, of course, with the nerf to 3-inch deep strike, it's now 6-inch deep strike. That's going to be a little worse, but that's still pretty good. All right, let's take a look at the stratagems. Shield of Denial. Any phase just after mortal... Oh, I think I know what this one is. Oh. Uh-oh. This is the crappy stratagem that we got for the Aeldari detachment. Here we go. Adeptus Sororitas unit, except at least it's any Adeptus Sororitas unit, not just the vehicle, right? Until the end of the phase, models in your unit have the Feel No Pain 6-up ability against mortal wounds. Uh-oh. It's even worse. If your unit is righteous until the end of the phase, models in your unit have the 5+ Feel No Pain ability against mortal wounds. I don't like this ability at all. I think this sucks. 6-up Feel No Pain, and if it happens to be righteous, a 5-up, that's terrible. That disgusts me. I was hoping for an invul save or something like that. I mean, Shield of Denial seems like you'd get an invul save, right? Oh well, alright, let's see if the other detachments' stratagems are better. Suffer Not the Unfaithful. Your shooting phase or fight phase, 1 Adeptus Sororitas unit from your army that is righteous and has not been selected to shoot or fight. Select either lethal hits or sustained hits 1 until the end of the phase. Weapons equipped by models in this unit have the selected ability. Okay, that's really good. Again, remember, this is stacking with the fact that you're getting +1 weapon skill and ballista skill with the unit, and you're getting +1 movement and +1 leadership. I know the leadership doesn't really matter, but it does actually matter specifically on Battle Sisters units who are going to be needing to control objectives, needing not to be battle shocked so they can generate more miracle dice. To the Heart of Heresy, fight phase, 1 Adeptus Sororitas unit from your army that has not been selected to fight. Till the end of the turn, improve the strength characteristic of melee weapons by 1. If your unit is righteous, improve the armor penetration characteristic equipped by models in this unit by 1 as well. That's pretty good for 1 CP. And again, especially if they're righteous, right? You can throw, it's a lot of CP, but you can throw 2 CP at them, give them +1 strength, -1 AP, lethal hits, or sustained hits. I mean, that's pretty good on top of what they already have. Okay, Path of the Righteous, fight phase. 1 Adeptus Sororitas from your army that has not been selected to fight. Until the end of the turn, each time model in your unit makes a pylon or consolidation move, it can move up to 6 instead of 3. That's good. When doing so, if your unit is righteous, it does not need to end that move closer to the closest enemy model, provided it ends that move as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. Interesting. Okay, so it gives you a little bit more room to kind of consolidate and pile in around your unit. So basically what this means is this. instead of just going base to base as close as possible. Remember in ninth edition when you didn't care about this rule and you could just surround enemy vehicles and prevent them from doing anything? This is exactly what this allows you to do. I think that's great. I don't know how many sisters units are actually going to be doing this that often though, right? I mean, they're either going to do one or two things. They're going to kill their target and then pile in or consolidate into something else, or they're not going to kill it and they can surround it, sure, but I don't know. It's very situational, but it's still it's good when you can use it properly. It's interesting, but it is situational. Bastion of Faith, 5 phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. One Celestian Sacrosancts unit that was selected as the target of one of our attacking units attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. In addition, if your unit is righteous, you can select one other Sacrosancts unit from your army that is not battle shocked within 6 of your unit. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets that unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll as well. Okay. I mean, that's good. That's -1 to hit in combat. But the righteous thing just kind of sucks. I mean, selecting another unit within 6, it's like, when are you ever going to be engaged with 2 units at once of the same type that are also going to be within 6 inches of each other, right? I don't know how often that happens. But -1 to hit in combat's decent. So, yeah, there's that. All right. In Indefatigable dedication, whatever. Some of these things I'm terrible at pronouncing. It's in your movement phase just after an Adeptus Sororitas unit from your army makes a fallback. Until the end of the turn, the unit is eligible to shoot in a turn at which it fell back. If it's righteous, you can shoot and declare a charge in a turn which it fell back instead. Yeah, that's good. That's fine. That's like a weaker version of like what we have for Battle Host, which is just fallback, shoot, and charge. So that's good. I don't know why some armies just get fallback, shoot, and charge, and then other armies are like conditional with their fallback, shoot, and charge. I have no idea why that is. And I think it just shows you that GW had different teams working on these detachments. Like, they just had different brainchilds when it came to this detachment or that detachment, right? Like, the Eldari detachment is just super weak. And I think it's indicative of a lot of other weak detachments that we see. Like, whoever was writing those was just not on the ball when it came to writing flavorful, but still, fun and powerful rules. And again, powerful doesn't mean OP. It just means it's strong. It just means it's worth using, right? In a lot of situations, and it's fun. That's basically what it is. So yeah, there's some detachments that are real stinkers, and there's some detachments that are better. So what do I think about this detachment? Well, I think it has teeth. It definitely has some teeth. I think the problem is that you have to discard so many miracle dice. And I wish it was just this. I wish it was just in your command phase, you can discard 1 miracle dice, and then you can choose 2 units to benefit from these abilities. I think that would be way better, right? Because having to discard a miracle dice per unit you use it on is kind of ridiculous. I think it should just be discard 1 miracle dice, 2 units get these abilities, and that's it. And I also think that a lot of these, like, you know, basically conditional stratagems should be better. Like, if I have to meet a condition to get Feel No Pain 5 plus, let's make it a 4 plus, right? Let's make the base value a 5 plus, but if I meet this condition, I get a 4 plus. That's also how it should have been for the Eldari detachment. I just think it should have been better, right? I think the layered wards that the Eldari detachment got, the Feel No Pain, should have just been regular old Feel No Pain 5 plus. Is it that OP to have Feel No Pain 5 plus on like toughness 9 vehicles? No, it's not, right? So I don't know why they couldn't give that to us. And the more I look at some of these attachments, like, I just start getting a little salty at that. I'm like, you couldn't even give us this, and you gave that to other detachments, and you gave this to other detachments. But yeah, I think there's some problems with this detachment. As you know, I know a little bit about sisters just from, I haven't really played them at all in 10th, to be honest. The last time I played them was in ninth edition, but I've heard a lot about them in 10th edition, and this kind of, yeah, it's not that great. I think this is an average detachment. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's as bad as the Eldari detachment at all. I think it does have teeth. but it is really heavy on the miracle dice. So if you do want to run this army effectively, you're going to have to run like a lot of Battle Sisters, a lot of miracle dice generating units. But if you're able to do that, I think it can be very good. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. We got the final day. This is the Gene Stealer Cult, the only army in the game that I have never played against, and continue not to be able to find anybody who plays them. Okay, so detachment rule, psionic parasitism. At the end of your movement phase, for each Tyranid Synapse unit from your army. Okay, oh, right. This is the one where you can have Tyranid units in your army. You can select one friendly Gene Stealer Colts unit, excluding Pure Stain, Gene Stealer, and Patriarch units, and other friendly Tyranids units within 9, visible to the Synapse unit. If you do so, Gene Stealer Colts units from your army suffer D3 plus 1 mortal wounds, and one model in the selected Tyranid unit regains up to that many lost wounds. And until the start of your next movement phase, each time a model in the selected Tyranid's unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. Okay, this is kind of hilarious. So basically what's happening here is you are killing one unit to enhance another, and I think that's just brilliant. And I love that because this kind of goes in well with the whole Gene Stealer Colts being super cheap, super expendable, having a lot of trash units, you know. So I think this goes well with it. Synapse creatures are things like Tyranid Warriors, Tyranid Lictors, I think are Synapse, but I could be wrong. Neuro Tyrants, stuff like that. Those kind of monsters can easily do that. Okay, so Tyranid units from the army have this Catalyst ability. While an enemy unit is within 6 of this unit, each time a friendly Gene Stealer Colts makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. Okay, good. They also make Gene Stealer Colt units fight a little harder. Okay, so what kind of Tyranid units can we include? We can include Tyranid Vanguard Invader units, excluding Aircraft, Broodlord, or Gene Stealer units. Okay, so no Gene Stealers because you already can have Gene Stealers in a Gene Stealer Colt army. In your army, the combined cost of such units depends on the battle size. Okay, so it's up to 1,000 points, just like the Reaper's Wager with Harlequin units. That's like really good. Now, I don't know how many Vanguard Invader units there are. I think that's just like the stealthy like units, you know, like the Von Ryan's Leapers or Lictors or whatever and stuff like that. That's fine. I think those units are probably best with this kind of army anyway. Okay, let's check out the enhancements. Synaptic Augur, 15 points, here model only. Each time the bearer would regain 1 or more lost wounds from the psionic parasitism detachment, it regains up to twice the number of wounds lost instead. Wow. I wonder if you can take a Hive Tyrant in this detachment. That would be really cool. Or some sort of big monster. I think it'd be really good on that kind of thing. I don't know how good it would be on anything else, just because you're already, you know, like for example, if you heal D3 plus 1, on average you're healing 3 wounds. Is it really worth it to heal 6 wounds on something that only is going to maybe take 4 wounds or 5 wounds max? Probably not, right? So I think it just depends on what you can put it on. Enraptured Damnation, Gene Stealer Colts model only. Enemy units cannot fire Overwatch stratagem to shoot at the bearer's unit. Wow, that's for 10 points. Okay. That's crazy. I think maybe because Gene Stealer Colt units are so garbage, they're so trash anyway, that maybe they're just like, we'll just put it at 10 points because it's a garbage unit that they're going to be a part of. But that's really strong for 10 points. And again, this is where I'm kind of reading through these attachments and I'm like, what is the baseline for putting something at that has a great value, ignore Overwatch, at 10 points? Like, who thought of this? Like, it's not, it doesn't seem equal to me. And it also seems like they're kind of trying to make it balanced in a way with how good the unit actually is. But I know for a fact that a lot of Gene Stealer units are actually really powerful. Gene Stealer Court units are actually good with their, you know, demolition charges and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's fair. I think that should be at least 20 points, just like the Blood Angel one. You know, it should be around what the Dark Eldar one, the Nightmare Shroud, is as well. I don't think 10 points really gives that justice at all. Vanguard Tyrant, Winged. Okay, so you can take Hive Tyrants in this detachment. So Winged Hive Tyrant, improve the strength and armor penetration characteristic of melee weapons equipped by the bearer by 1. Actually, I don't even think that's worth it. I think this one is more worth it. The Synaptic Augur is more worth it for a model like that, honestly. That seems way better to me. Being able to basically just res back a bunch of wounds for 15 points. I would rather have that than have +1 strength, +1 AP on my melee weapons. I don't know. That's just me. Okay, inhuman integration. Genestealer Colts model only. Weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit have sustained hits 1, while targeting enemy unit within 6 of one or more friendly Tyranid units. That's pretty good too. Cool. Free sustained hits 1. That's really good on demo charges. Okay, let's take a look at the stratagems. Hyper Ferocity. We have Fight Phase. 1 Genestealer Colts unit from your army. Until the end of the fight phase, each time a model in unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit, reroll a wound roll of 1. If one or more friendly Tyranid units are within 6, you can reroll the wound roll instead. Really good. Rerolls wounds on your Genestealer Colts in the fight phase. Pretty good. Psi Surge, start of any phase, 1 Tyranid unit from your army. Till the end of the next command phase, increase the range of your unit's Catalyst ability by 3. So the Catalyst ability is normally 6 inches, so this makes it to 9. That's pretty decent. Sometimes you will need to actually use that. And it says you can't use it again more than once. So you can only use it at the start of any phase, but you can't use it until your next command phase. The end of your next command phase. Avenge the Star Children, your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase just after an enemy unit has shot or fought. 1 Tyranid's character from your army that was destroyed by an enemy unit this phase. You can use the stratagem on that unit even though it was destroyed. And until the end of the battle, each time a Genestealer Colts model from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, of course, that destroyed the Tyranid character unit, add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the wound roll. Very situational. You know, if it's a weak unit that killed it, then it's just not going to matter. If it's a really strong unit that killed it, then it is going to be pretty massive. Okay, Divine Imperative, your charge phase. Genestealer Colts unit that has not declared a charge yet, you select 1 or more enemy units within engagement range of 1 or more Tyranid units from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time your Genestealer Colt unit declares a charge, if that enemy unit has 1 or is one of the targets of that charge, add 1 to the charge rolls made for the unit, and you can reroll the charge roll. So basically, I think what this is you charge a Tyranid unit in, then you follow it up with a Genestealer Colts unit and use the CP to add 1 to the charge roll and reroll the charge. I don't know if it's that good, but it's better than just the normal command reroll that you can get. So, you know, it's really only worth it, of course, if you're needing to gang up on an enemy unit. Usually that's not the case, but yeah, it's decent. It's situational. Next is darting attacks, or shooting phase or charge phase. 1 Tyranid's unit from your army. Till the end of the phase, your unit is eligible to shoot and declare charge in a turn in which it fell back. Okay, perfect. Yeah, fall back and charge. Cool. Resistant tunnels. Resistance tunnels, yeah. End of your opponent's fight phase. 1 Genestealer Colt or Tyranid's unit from your army that is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Remove your unit from the battlefield and place it into Strat Reserve. Okay, so again, it's one of those uppy-downy type abilities. Except it doesn't give you Deep Strike or anything like that, so you're going to have to just come in through regular Strategic Reserves. But that's still really good. You know, end of your opponent's fight phase too, as long as you're not within engagement. So that's actually, wow. Okay, I just thought of this. That's actually really good, because check this out. You charge in a Tyranid unit, you wipe out the enemy unit, and then instead of just sitting there and being like, oh, hey, I'm ready to be shot at, go ahead and shoot me now, you could just say, nope, removing it and putting it back into Strat Reserve. Oh, wait a second. Excuse me. No, I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong. Disregard. It says the end of your opponent's fight phase. Oh, man. I thought it was one of those mega troll moments. It was like, are they really putting this in the game right now? Okay, no. It's end of your opponent's fight phase, just like any other uppy-downy ability. So, yeah, there it is. It's the same as always. I think that's a good ability, but it's not as OP as I just initially thought. All right, what do I think of this detachment? I think it's cool. I think it's flavorful. I think any detachment that is able to use synergies between 2 different types of armies and army abilities is awesome. I think that's really cool. I love the Psychonic Parrotism, ability, and just how it synergizes with Genestealer units and Synapse units. So I really like it, personally. I think it's really cool. I don't play Genestealer Colts, but I think this would be a fun army to go ahead and try out. And definitely, if you play Genestealer Colts, I feel like you're also a bug lover. So, if you're loving them bugs, you should probably have some bugs in your army. Okay, let's check out the last one here. It is Hearthband. This is the Leagues of Votann. And I gotta be real with you guys. I've read this. I read this when it came out because, me as somebody who loves the dwarves, I always have to read the updates and stuff like that of Leagues of Votann just because I want to see how their army's doing. My buddy who got into the Votann in ninth edition just doesn't really play them in 10th, and I mean, honestly, I can kind of see why. They are a strong faction, but he told me that he's just not going to play them until they get more options because they're kind of boring right now in his mind. And personally, I agree. I think they need a lot more units in their army. Okay, anyway, let's look at the detachment. So the detachment rule is methodical annihilation. Each time a Leagues of Votann model from your army makes an attack with a weapon, excluding blast weapons, that targets the closest eligible target or a target that is within engagement range of that model's unit. Reroll the hit roll of 1 if your unit is a Call, Einherjar Hearthguard, or Uther the Destined. Improve the armor pen characteristic of the attack by 1. Now, I will say this. The army rule of Leagues of Votann is the grudge token system. So if you have 1 grudge token on an enemy unit, you get +1 to hit. If you have 2 on that unit, you get +1 to hit and +1 to wound. The problem with this is that to gain grudge tokens, you need to either select certain units in your army, or the enemy unit has to kill one of your units. So it's a little bit, let's put it this way, it's a little bit restrictive. Now, the original index detachment rule basically just hands out a bunch of grudge tokens for free. It allows you to put, I think, up to 2 grudge tokens on up to 4 enemy units, and we're not seeing that here. So you're not getting a free +1 to hit, +1 to wound on up to 4 enemy units in your opponent's army. Instead, you get to reroll hit rolls of 1 if it's the closest eligible target, and you get to get an armor penetration of 1 additional. So right off the bat, I can tell you that the detachment rule is not as strong as the old one. I think really this is looking like a very close range army, an army that wants to be right up to you, wants to be engaging you in close combat with berserkers, or like they say here, Einherjar Hearthguard and stuff like that, the Terminator dwarfs. They don't really want to be playing a lot of the just regular kin. They want to be playing a lot of the heavy stuff that's going to be up close and personal. Let's take a look at the enhancements. We have Bastion Shield. Leagues of Votann model only. Each time a range attack targets a bearer's unit, if the attacking model is within 12 of the bearer's unit, worsen the attack penetration characteristic by 1. Okay, again, this plays into, we're going to be super close to you. We're going to be, charging across the battlefield into... I mean, Leagues of Votann are kind of slow, so I don't know how they're going to get that close that quick. But this is a decent stratagem for keeping, like, a unit of Hearthguard alive, right? In, very close range. We have the Quake multi-generator for 15 points. Call model only in your shooting phase after the model is shot. Select 1 enemy unit. Hit by 1 or more of attacks. Until the start of the next turn, that enemy unit is suppressed. When a unit is suppressed, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract a hit roll by 1. Again, this is another one of those that is reducing the amount of damage your opponents can do to you. That's pretty decent. Iron Skein, 10 points. Add 2 to the bear's wounds characteristic. I mean, I wouldn't say no to that. I mean, if I had an extra 10 points, I'd throw that on a character. That's not bad. Then we have High Call, 30 points. Call model only. Each time a model in the bearer's unit is destroyed by a melee attack, if it is not fought this phase, roll a d6 on a 4+. Do not remove it from play. Okay, so it's fight on death on a 4+. Yeah, it's 30 points. I wouldn't take that. I would never spend a bunch of points for a fight on death and melee on a 4+. Just doesn't seem worth it to me. I'd rather probably just have more stuff to begin with if it's that many points. I think this is probably a 20-point enhancement at most. Again, I could be wrong, but I also don't think that this army has any revive abilities, right? Like, I mean, Wraith Blades from the Eldar have a 4+ fight on death, but the difference is that they don't need a character to do it. They don't need 30 points extra to do it. And they're also benefiting from a lot of other stuff as well, because their Spirit Seer can revive them 1 per turn. So, they get more value out of fights for death than I think these units do. But anyway, yeah, so far, I mean, pretty good. I mean, the enhancements look pretty good. The detachment rule is not good, but here's the thing, actually, is that if you are really close to the enemy and you're not relying on a bunch of grudge tokens, this can situationally be better. Okay, anyway, but that's probably later in the game. Let's check the stratagems. This is going to make or break this detachment. So, Breckenauts, your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. One call Uther the Destined or a higher-end Hearthguard unit. Till the end of the phase, your models have a 4+ infil save. Yeah, that's great. 4+ infil save is a great use of 1 CP. Perfect. That is an excellent durability buff. Sure of Purpose, fight phase, 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army that has not been selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes a pylon or consolidation, it can move up to 6 instead of 3. But it's a weaker version of the Sisters one. Remember what we talked about with the Sisters? They have to still end closest to the closest enemy model in this case. So, yeah, but it's good, though. It is good. It helps slow dwarf units kind of make, bigger movements. We have Superior Craftsmanship, fight phase, 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Till the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle, add 1 of the damage characteristic. That's really good, but it's 2 CP, so that's kind of expensive. I think that's going to be hard to justify, especially since the original detachment also gives you more CP for destroying units that have grudge tokens on them. So, here's my question, right? Where are you going to get the 2 CP to use this consistently? It's going to be tough, right? So it's good. It's really good. Add 1 to the damage characteristic. That's amazing, but that's kind of hard to pull off for 2 CP. Alright, let's look at Unyielding Aggression. Your movement phase just after a Leagues of Votann infantry unit from your army falls back. That Leagues of Votann infantry unit, until the end of the phase, the unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge and turn to fall back. Okay, cool. Shoot, fall back, and charge. That looks good. Materialization Matrices, the reinforcement step of the movement phase. 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army that is in reserves and has the Deep Strike ability. Until the end of the phase, when your unit is set up on the battlefield using Deep Strike, it can Deep Strike 6. Okay, cool. But it's not eligible to declare charge, so it's 6-inch Deep Strike. That's still pretty good, actually, and I like that because it allows your, Hearthguard to get really close and benefit from your detachment bonuses. So I really do like this stratagem. Fury of the Hearth, your shooting phase, 1 Einherjar Hearthguard unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the Rapid Fire 1 ability. That's also really good. That just gives you more shots on your powerful weapons. Okay, so what do I think of this detachment? Well, I think the detachment rule itself sucks. I think it's not that great. It doesn't give you the amount of damage that the original detachment rule gives you, and you're losing out on a bunch of CP, which kind of sucks. In addition, a lot of your units are just hitting on 4s, right? Like a lot of dwarf units are 4+ to hit, which is a problem. However, I do think the enhancements are really good at making the dwarves even tougher, and I do think the stratagems are pretty good. So, yeah, I think it's one of those things where the detachment rule sucks, but the enhancements and stratagems are good. Okay, so realistically, though, are you ever going to see a Leagues of Votann player play this detachment? Probably not. A lot of Votann players actually do not or are not a fan of this detachment because it doesn't give you the CP, it doesn't give you the grudge tokens, and that's a big problem for a lot of players, right? So I don't think you'll see this one that much, but I think it's actually better still than the Eldari one. And I honestly think that this one is probably slightly better than the Eldari one. The Eldari one, I've done a lot of thinking about it, and I've actually, well, in full disclosure, I've played a small game with the Armored Warhost, and it doesn't work in 1,000-point games. Just right off the bat, I just want to let you guys know that. So it's already kind of sucky in that regard. But, in 2,000 point games, I'm doing some simulations, and it really just doesn't do anything that Battlehost probably couldn't do better for better units, right? And I found out I actually made a mistake in my last video where I kind of was adding up the points to the list. I actually was over. I was over the limit of points. So I think if I had less units in that army, I could just honestly see myself just not even having any success with the list. I still think the Eldari one has a little bit of teeth, it can do something in the first couple turns of the battle, but truly I think it's probably better left at home or mixed with the Ynnari. And yes, I fully believe now, I'm fully convinced that you can use the Ynnari in an Armored Warhost detachment until the Codex comes out and they change that. So as for now, yeah, you can use Venoms, you can use Raiders with those abilities that the Eldari have, which can be pretty good. Because having Raiders with Assault, and you know what that means if there's a unit inside, everything inside also is going to get assault because that's how firing deck works, right? So, yeah, that's pretty strong in my opinion. But it's just not good with regular Eldari, unfortunately. It's weird that it has to be run with a Ynnari army for now, but that's what it is. Okay, so we have 4 more detachments to do a review on. I'll probably try to review those after I do a couple more videos. I want to do a video on the Reaper's Wager. I'm currently working on that, but it's been delayed a little bit, and we're going to have another video coming out soon about a recent GT winner that won with basically all Wave Serpents and Venoms. So we're going to be talking about that list a little bit, and I'm going to give you guys some insight into what he played against in that GT. It was a smaller GT, but he was also, by the way, a Warhammer Worlds contender, and he did fairly decently with his list, considering considering the fierce competition that he was going against. So we will talk about that as well. All right, everybody, that is going to be it for today's video. Thanks once again for watching. Let me know if these videos are to your liking, these detachment videos, detachment reviews. I know they're not specifically Eldari, but I'm just thinking in my mind that it's probably helpful for Eldari players to, know some of the detachments that are coming out and to maybe just kind of, listen in and see, what's going to be played, what you could do to counter certain things, stuff like that. Just so you have the knowledge of it. But yeah, in any case, let me know. We're going to finish out the detachments probably by the end of Christmas or whenever GW obviously ends it. And then we're going to go ahead and do a tier list of all the detachments and which ones are the best, which ones are the worst, what to look out for the Eldari and stuff like that. So yeah. Thank you so much once again to all my patrons and supporters. I will go ahead and leave the link in the description for my Patreon. If you guys do want to support the channel, you can join up with the Patreon for free via a free trial. Or if you want to support the channel, obviously you can go that route. But either way, you will get an invitation to the channel Discord, which is just a huge community of Eldar lovers, Eldar enthusiasts who like to talk about strategies, tactics, and of course, hobbying. I will leave the link in the description below for that. If you want to grab some discounted Eldar minis on Amazon through my affiliate link, I will leave that in the description as well. And also, if you want to pick up some Eldar inspired apparel on the channel store page, I will leave the link in the description for that too. And, if you want to pick up Santa Eldrad or Santa Death Jester or, any of the Eldari runes or anything like that from the Craft Worlds or the Aspect Warrior units to show off at your local store or among your friends, or even buy a few troll shirts just to kind of show or give it to your friends who hate the Eldar, that would be awesome too. That also supports the channel a little bit with each purchase. Alrighty, you guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, everybody. Peace out.